Good afternoon, everyone. I thought it was time for me to make a new video on my collection since it's been about a year. If you remember, my last video was in Cleveland. I have since relocated back to my home city in upstate New York, so thought it was time to make another video as a result. So I'll get started with the vacuums that I currently have for sale / ones that I picked up for other people. The Dyson came out of the trash. It's a DC-14. The Sanitaire got from a Savers thrift store. The Y-Track Eureka came from a Goodwill. These were all within the last couple of weeks. The Bissell came out of the garbage. The Ultralux I just bought at Goodwill the other day. I have this green Dirt Devil that I'm going to be selling, possibly to a collector. I don't know yet. These two Electrolux Silverados. Recently picked up this one from another collector who's moving. This one is my bench vacuum, so I guess for now I'm just going to keep the extra one on hand to use for that purpose. And this is kind of a mess over here. I do apologize. The Kirby, the Bissell, and this cordless Hoover all came out of the garbage. They all work. This Hoover is rather interesting. It was Hoover's first full-size cordless vacuum, and it actually works pretty well. It's not the most powerful, but it's enough for quick cleanups and stuff. Funny enough, behind it I have its full-size cousin, this Hoover Lift thing, copy of a Shark. Horrible vacuum, poor excuse for a Hoover. Nevertheless, back here we have this Eureka cordless thing. It's kind of like a copy of a Shark rocket. This Electrolux Metal L, which I might be getting the motor rebuilt for somebody. It's all a question of whether or not they're willing to wait a couple of weeks to get that done. Then I have that bagless Dirt Devil thing that I'm selling as well. Let's start with my actual collection machines. So this TriStar I bought, one of the last vacuums I bought actually when I was still living in Ohio. And I believe I'm going to be selling this to my uncle when he moves into his new home in a few weeks. Above it is my other TriStar, which is a bit older than this one, and that one is brand new. It's never been used. I have it out of the box kind of for display purposes, but I haven't used it. The Royal next to it, it's also brand new, never used it. Out of the box for display purposes. I bought it in Cleveland from a gentleman who had a friend who worked for Royal. He got them from his friend and listed them on Marketplace. When I bought this machine, it actually came with a second tank unit. That machine I ended up selling to another collector friend of mine. This is a straight suction only canister with a 3-prong plug, so it's actually a commercial unit, and I've been told it's a little bit scarce. I've seen a few used ones on eBay, but nevertheless it's a very powerful canister vacuum cleaner. This Kirby Tradition I got out of the garbage about a month ago, and it needs a switch and a new cord. Just waiting on getting those parts. Gonna try to check with a couple collector friends before I make a big purchase buying them online, because it's a lot more expensive online. This Hoover convertible I got from a collector at a convention about a month and a half ago. It's a Hoover 589 from about 1970. This Eureka Excalibur I also got in Cleveland. It was again one of the last vacuums I bought while I was living in Cleveland off of Facebook, and I put a new brush roll in it. You can still order those, believe it or not. that Eureka Whirlwind I bought in Pittsburgh when I was going to school in Pittsburgh, and it's brand new, never been used. It's out of the box for display purposes, but never used it. It's a very interesting vacuum. It was made over in Europe and imported here. They made a Kenmore version of it as well, which is also pretty scarce. And it has a dual stage motor. Don't know if it's a Lamb or not, but it does sound like a Lamb for sure. Has a lot of power, but it clogs real quick. If you remember the original Whirlwinds, it basically works in the same fashion, and not the best designed, but interesting nevertheless. This Eureka Imperial I bought along with that Y-Track Eureka over there at Goodwill a couple of weeks ago. This one I'm keeping, the other one I'm getting rid of. I tore it down, washed the bag, put a new bag in it, put a new belt in it, put a new gasket around the top motor housing. I don't know what you would call it. It's not a muffler, but there's a piece of cardboard that goes over the top of the housing. I think it's for vibration to help with that, and I put a new gasket around that. I also rebuilt the brush roll because it appears somebody had it apart and didn't put it back correctly, and it was causing the end caps on one side to get really hot. I don't think they were screwed in correctly, so I kind of took it apart and put it back together, and it seems to be okay now. This Hoover Spirit I bought at a thrift store a couple weeks ago. It's technically more like a tool shop, but they sometimes get vacuums. This was there. Something I didn't need, but it's in really good shape, so I bought it. It has all the tools. I printed the manual off of it online, and works really well. I made a new exhaust filter for it because it was all dry rotted, as these tend to be, and yeah, it works great. It's a nice little vacuum. And to the left of it is a little Hoover Porta-Power in the box. It's not new, but it's in good shape. It has all the tools in the manual. Got it at the same thrift shop that I bought this at, and yeah, it works well. I also picked up this wind tunnel when I was living in Cleveland, but I came home to visit on vacation, and I bought this at a thrift store there. Works really well. Put a little work into it, and works great. This Riccar upright I bought a few years ago from a vacuum collector. It's brand new, never used. Still haven't used it, but I have it out of the box just for the heck of it. Really good vacuum. It's got a dual stage motor in it. This Hoover Dimension 1000 I bought at the most recent vacuum convention I went to. It's got some tape on the cord, but it works really well. It has all the tools with it. It's a fairly early Dimension 1000. It's not one of the electronic models, so it's a single speed motor. This Rainbow friend gave to me. It was traded in on a Hyla, and works really well, although the switch is sticking a little bit. I replaced the brush roll with a CWP brush roll. Has all the tools, and it doesn't even really have any corrosion in the separator fan housing, so that was a really nice surprise. We'll go over this way. So this little GE I bought also at the tool thrift store where I bought those two Hoovers over there, and it's got some surface rust, so it's gonna need repainting. It did come with all the tools, which is nice. I made a new hose for it. It was all dry rotted. This is an Oreck Dutch Tech. I got this also at a vacuum convention I went to recently. The plastic on the top is yellowed. I'll try to see if I can find a remedy for that. I know there's, it's like Retro Bright or something like that, to see if that maybe will work. Notice it does have the small power nozzle with it. Some of the models came with a larger Wesselwerk power nozzle. This one's got the little power nozzle. That Regina I'm saving for a friend of mine. I bought that probably close to a year ago at a Goodwill in Cleveland. This was one of the last vacuums I bought when I was still living in Pittsburgh. This Kenmore Whisper Tone, I bought it at a Goodwill, and other than the power head cover having a bunch of scratches on it, the canister itself is almost like new. And in fact, I took the top cover off of the back of the motor housing, and there's almost no dust in there, which surprises me because these usually leak dust like a sieve. So that tells me it really wasn't used a whole lot. This was my grandmother's vacuum cleaner. My last grandparent to pass away, she passed away earlier this year, and when we moved her into assisted living, I took this vacuum. She bought it brand new in 2004 at Sears, and I've had it for like the past 5 years. And I believe she only really went through 1 pack of bags with the machine. She didn't use it a whole lot. I think she bought like a 12 or 24 pack, and I think that's pretty much the only time she ever bought bags for it. She didn't use it a lot. She only used it maybe once or twice a month. This Filter Queen I bought from a friend of mine a few years ago. It's a Majestic Triple Crown. Since I've had it, I replaced the exhaust filter and the brush roll. This is an Electrolux Silverado. I got this about a year ago from another collector, and was using it for a while as my bench vacuum. But now that I have the spare Silverado, I've basically turned this back into for regular usage machine. This is a really wonderful vacuum. This is a Miele Electronic S238i. No, S328i. I bought this on Marketplace a few months ago. It takes a rubber stretch belt, so I took a Hoover power nozzle belt and made it fit. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for now. It doesn't have really any of the tools, but I think the upholstery tool, so hopefully I can get some tools for it soon. Common problem with these is the tool door latches break, but this one's perfect. Kenmore Cyclonic canister. This is kind of an oddity. I bought this from another collector about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. Really cool machine. It was imported here by the Swedish Electrolux company, and it's actually a sister machine to that Eureka over there. They were made by the same company, and these were also sold as Eurekas in the United States. That Kenmore was my other grandmother's vacuum cleaner, and she didn't use it very much. She was more of a canister person, and I've had that in my possession since I was about 12 or 13. This little Eureka here was the first vacuum I ever bought for my collection. I bought it at Walmart when I was about 9, and I don't use it much anymore, but it's nice to have it kind of as a memento. This Kenmore Drytech I got from my grandmother as a present when I was about 15. I believe she got it on eBay, and I've had a few of these come through my hands over the years, but this is the only one that doesn't have any broken parts on it. Every other one I've ever had, there was something broken on it. Usually it was the handle release pedal. If it wasn't that, it was the gears for the brush roll. These used plastic gears, which almost always deteriorated and broke, so I don't use this much as a result because I don't want it to break. You can see I have two of the same machine right here. So in the back and in the front are both Phantom Cyclone XTs. They're almost identical, but for the condition. So this one's almost perfect, other than the circuit board is a little wonky. So the green sensor indicator light doesn't work, and it also doesn't turn the brush off anymore when it's in upright mode. But the motor in it's been rebuilt. This one I just got from more recently from another vacuum cleaner collector. It's mostly so I have parts for the other one. This one isn't cosmetically perfect, but mechanically it actually works pretty well. So the rest of my Phantoms are here, and I should mention I actually have a brand new Phantom right there as well. I forgot to mention I bought that on eBay a few years ago, and it's 11 amp. Never used it, but I have turned it on a few times. This Thunder, this is the first vacuum, the first Phantom I ever got. I've had that since I was 11 years old, and I've put quite a bit of work into it. Put a lot of different parts on this machine that were better shape than the parts that were on it originally. So only about half that vacuum is original. The other half of the parts are parts that I found for it that I installed. This 11 amp Phantom I bought on Craigslist almost 10 years ago. I bought it from the original owner, and I have the manual, videotape, and the hose for it somewhere in my storage boxes. The Phantom Fury I got from another collector. The motor's been rebuilt in it, and it works great. I traded a Dirt Devil new in the box to get that. This is my Phantom Lightning. I got this from my grandmother for my 13th birthday. She bought it on eBay, and I have a couple extra filters and parts, random parts for it. Like I have an extra power nozzle, an extra wand, a brand new old stock base for the power nozzle, and I do have a brand new mini power nozzle and floor tool and storage. Yet to find the storage step, but anyway, that is my collection. Went a little longer than I hoped, but hopefully I was able to summarize everything in order to make this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.